Hello, I'm Dan from Benchmark Media Systems, and before we get started with today's video, please subscribe to this channel and click that like button. Today I'm going to walk you through the compatibility mode setting on the DAC3 HGC and the DAC3L. This is a special mode to provide enhanced compatibility with the Benchmark LA4 and HPA4 preamplifiers. This mode moves the main volume control along with a few other functions to the preamplifier. It is always best to avoid having two cascaded volume controls. Dual controls will usually degrade the noise performance of the system, and they can also lead to confusion. In compatibility mode, the volume on the HGC and L are set to full output or unity gain. You might be asking why I didn't mention the DAC3B. That's because the DAC3B has no volume control and is already set to full output. However, if you're using a DAC3B with our preamps, there is still an important setting you need to change. You can go to this portion of the video for that setting. I also want to mention that this setting is not available on the DAC2 series or on the DAC3Ls or HGCs that were sold prior to September 17, 2018. Firmware upgrade kits are available on our website, and we will have a link in our description. Let's get started. Okay, as I mentioned before, if you have a DAC3B, then you are all set. The DAC3B is at full output right out of the box. But maybe you have one of our DAC3Ls or a DAC3 HGC and it's feeding our AHB2 power amplifier, and now you've upgraded your system to include one of our preamps. This is where compatibility mode comes into play. So we're going to turn everything on. And using our Benchmark remote, you'll notice the input selection buttons are selecting inputs on both the DAC and the preamp. The mute functions are happening on both the DAC and the preamp. The dim and the volume is going between the DAC and the preamp, and we don't want that. We want one centralized volume control, and that's what I mentioned earlier, the cascaded volume control. We don't want you to guess, where to put the volume on your DAC, which is feeding the preamp. So we're going to put the DAC into compatibility mode and put it at full output. And you do that by holding the dim mute button and the input up button for 3 seconds simultaneously. HT light is blinking and the volume knob is moving to full output. And once the HT light is solid, compatibility mode is engaged. And you'll see as I cycle through the inputs, the HT light stays solid, the volume stays at unity gain. Also, using the remote, the left-right input buttons now select the input on the preamp. The individual buttons will select the inputs you have on your DAC, and also the volume is on the preamp, as well as the dim and the mute function. Now, there are a couple more steps I'd like to show you. First, you're going to go into your settings and scroll to the second page and click Remote. You want to enable the remote and then Benchmark DAC on XLR1, and this is the setting that also applies to the DAC3B. It applies to our entire DAC3 product line. And what that does, it now says DAC when the XLR1 input is selected. Input 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the inputs on the preamp. And if you're selecting the analog and digital inputs on the DAC3L or HGC, or the digital inputs on your DAC3B, they will be displayed on the touchscreen. Now there is one more setting that you can do. Go back into settings and click Input Setup. Now our DAC input is all locked. It keeps everything clean, but you can go to the other analog inputs and rename them. You can scroll to the left and right. You can choose the letters. Also, the preamp now recognizes all of the inputs on the DAC, and you can rename those as well. So some of our customers, they'll have a CD transport, they will have a streamer, and you can name them as you like. Also, if you're using our HPA4 and you have a Benchmark remote, the On button now becomes the input selector for the headphone or speaker outputs. That concludes the tutorial on compatibility mode. If you have any questions, you can call us at 1-800-262-4675, or you can email us at sales@benchmarkmedia.com. Thanks for watching.